Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the level 2 recording for lesson 9. Today is February 20th already. How wonderful. So welcome. The presentation is all about harmonics. So I have all sorts of wonderful, fun instruments and things to share with you. So I'll hold this up so you can kind of move myself back here. I got this down next to me over here. Wait, let me show you this. So first of all, this is what you will be hearing very soon. This is a harmonic instrument. You can see it's kind of like a xylophone. It's made of these tubes, and it is tuned to 432 hertz. And I'm going to talk all about tuning and what this means and everything. But basically, this presentation today is all about harmonics. And first, I'm just going to start off with some images. Wait. I'm going to arrange them here while I talk with you so you don't have to watch me rearrange everything. Okay. Up, up, up. Almost there. There we go. Okay. Harmonics. So, you know, when I pay, so this, blah, 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 blah. This image over here is a picture of a glass painting that I did all the way back in like 2005 or so. And it died a horrible death. I don't have it anymore, but I have images of it. It's a very sad story. We won't get into it. This painting, I bring it up because it is an example of harmonics. And when I had it in an art show in 2005, so I'm a walk-in, I came here in 2001, right? I did a lot of self-education, like to get to this point of being able to talk about this and present these ideas in a formal sense, you know, like I do in this class. It's taken a lot of self-education. So I bring this picture up because when I first presented it to people, this guy came up to me at the art show and he said, "You are painting harmonics." And I nodded politely, and I totally did not know what the word even meant. And I kind of wrote it down in my little notebook, harmonics, look that up. And so, yeah, I didn't even understand it. And it took me many years to understand that basically there's this, information, this empirical information that's coming to me from higher dimensional, less dense realms. And initially, I understood and perceived it and interpreted it through my filter of visual arts, which is where my training is, and it's, it's a strong part of my mind and my perception. And I did not yet have auditory training and an understanding of it on a sonic level. So I understood all of this cosmic information just on a visual sense. And so that's, this is a very accurate painting that I bring up that depicts, these harmonic structures. And those are harmonic structures in the chakras or energy centers of the body. And this goes all the way back to level 1, lesson 1. These are some of the earliest paintings that I did, and also some of the earliest. This is the level 2 class. You guys are all, this is recap, and you're very familiar with this. What we're looking at here are the color proportions. And the color proportions relate to harmonics. So red is the longest wavelength. This is all about wavelength and frequency. Wavelength being get the colors here. Here, get a color. Wavelength being the length of how big the circle is, and frequency being how fast it's moving. So in these color proportions that I explore, but that I did not invent. I hear the music, or I see these patterns, and I explore them, I perceive them, and decipher them. However, I can't take the credit unless I say my identity is God. I am God, my identity is God, you're all God. But for this purpose, I'm just speaking from the identity structure of Aurora. Like Aurora is the artist, I perceive this stuff that is already in existence. It's like saying, I hear that music. I don't know how to play it. How do I play it? And then I kind of figure it out on my own piano. Oh, it's this note, and then this note, and then this note. Okay, that's what that is. So yeah, I see these images with my inner eye, and then I find a way to make them with paintings. And so yeah, this is a larger structure, a larger language that is a language of vibration. And I can only take credit for inventing it if I take credit as being God, the divine being, which of course I am, and we all are, but right now I'm Aurora. So the structure of music is something that is already in existence, and the Flying Rainbow Lasagna is my melody, my new song that I have written within that structure of music. So music was already in existence. Then a band came along named Led Zeppelin, and Led Zeppelin wrote Stairway to Heaven. This is my version of Stairway to Heaven. And also, it's not just a song that only I am allowed to play. It's a song that I invented and created and encouraged to be, played and explored by many other people. So please take the song, learn the chord structure, sing it, cover it. When you cover a song, you make it your own. You don't just imitate like karaoke, another person's voice. You really make it your own. So in my own journey of understanding harmonics has to do with wavelengths and nested frequencies. So now let me put it, go back. Oh, wait, go away from here. No, good. Can I do this? This, good. You go down, and now let's show you these pictures. So these pictures I did not create, but they show exactly what I was painting in that simplified version. Okay, harmonics and overtones. So just like in light waves, because what I was initially showing you are light waves, these are sound waves. And within the sound waves, there are nested, smaller sound waves that lend richness and complexity to the original note or the original tone. So if you have, let me move my oscilloscope over here. We'll get to that. If you have the original note, let's say it's a C, that would be called the fundamental. It's like this overarching, oops, that's not a very well drawn waveform. Oh, no, don't move my face. This. Oh man, I'm having so much trouble drawing. You know what I'm trying to draw here. This arc right here would be considered the fundamental, the primary note. And within that note, there are subtleties that are, you could call them subnotes. These are harmonic overtones. And those harmonic overtones are structured in exactly the same way that the visual the visual light waves and frequencies are also structured. Got to get a different color so you can see this. So here's the first note, which would be considered red, the biggest, the largest wavelength and the smallest frequency. And we divide red in half right over here, and then we have orange. 2 oranges fit within 1 red. Then we divide red into 3 sections, and we have yellow. 3 yellows fit within 1 red. 4 greens fit within 1 red. 5 light blues fit within 1 red. 6 dark blues fit within 1 red. 7 violets fit within 1 red. What does that mean? It means in the time that it takes for 7 little violet waves to crash on the beach, 1 big giant red wave crashes on the beach. These are also images that I didn't create myself, but this one over here that I'm jiggling on the screen, this one is very similar to one that I drew myself when I was learning. So basically, like kind of around 2008 or so, I started to understand, I did a lot of self-education, and I educated myself about geometry, and I started to understand more about the words of geometry and math and science that are used to describe these concepts here. And I also started to have an auditory awakening, a sonic understanding of these overtones. And I got myself a piano, this piano right here that's in front, it's an electric piano, it doesn't have strings on it. And I didn't yet have an understand, like my ears could hear a note like, that's a note, my ear can hear it, and then my finger can play that note on the keyboard. I didn't yet have a structural understanding of what the notes were and how these notes related to the musical notation on a staff, which is what this is showing here, the Western musical notation. So as I wanted to learn about it, in order to make some kind of a connection, I related my piano keyboard to the rainbow, and that allowed me to make the inner connections that I needed between what I was seeing and what I was hearing. So arbitrarily, I assigned red as being C. So if you guys don't know music, and if you do know music, I don't mean to condescend to you, but if you don't know music, I will explain that basically on the piano keyboard, you start off on this image where you're starting off at the far left of what you're seeing on the screen would be a C. And so it goes C, D, E, F, G, A, B. I don't know why on the piano they didn't start off with A, because that would make a lot more sense, because the alphabet starts with A. But I'm coming onto this planet that already has a pre-existing musical structure that I'm working within. So it starts with C. C is red, because I start off with the colors of the rainbow as being red, and then D, orange, E, yellow, F, green, G, light blue, A, dark blue, B, violet, and then according to my, color structure, the next note would be white, because all of those colors add up to white. But on the piano keyboard, it goes around and around in a cyclical nature. It goes back to red. So C starts as red, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, back to red, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, too hard for my voice, all the way on up the piano keyboard. And the musical notation going out to the side like that, each line and each space is also assigned a color. And so what I did was, in order to learn and make these associations on my piano, I actually drew this thing and colored it in, and I actually put colored pieces of tape on my piano keyboard so that I can understand it as colors. And that still sticks with me, but now I'm also able to understand it more according to the numbers, the letters, and the way that it's described basically, but in Western music. So I'm able to understand it more. This drawing over here is also very good. It shows you some, and I should show you this picture too. This part that's in the middle looks almost exactly like one of my early paintings. Can I show you this painting? Go back to my face. Go back to this over here. See if I can find this exact painting. If it's easy, then I'll show you. And if it's too hard, then I won't show you. I don't have it. Okay. Anyway, it looks exactly like one of my paintings. And here. There. No. Good. I know what's going on here. Okay, good. I hope you can see this. No, you can't see that. Now go to here. Now you can see this. So this center portion here looks exactly like one of my earlier paintings, and you have a similar understanding of the notes of sorry, my words are stumbling here. Notes of the scale being related to colors of the rainbow. These are both harmonics. So what harmonic means? Perfectly nested circles. And those perfectly nested circles can either be the circles that you see me painting, or they can be circles that are created by vibrating strings that vibrate the atmosphere. So when you have photons can move like little waves, making these perfect light waves. You can also have auditory waves that are essentially the vibrations of a medium like the atmosphere that are moving in waves. Nested waves. Harmonics is nested waves, and these waves are supposed to be nested perfectly. So if I go back to my face, perfect harmonics would be if I have one waveform like this, and then I'm able to subdivide it into two other waves. But what if I subdivide it into two, but one of those sticks off the side a little bit? One is a little bit extra. That is not a perfect harmonic. And our ears can actually hear that. So this comes down to now the tuning of 440 versus 432 hertz. So our brain has two hemispheres, and those two hemispheres talk to one another across a neurological bridge that's in the center of your brain structure, and it has a frequency bouncing these ideas and consciousness neurological impulses back and forth from right side to left side, has a frequency. And that frequency is roughly 7.58. It's the Schumann resonance. Earth also has a frequency. Let me draw it for you. This is way easier if I draw it. Let's clear everything out. Hold on a minute here. So first we have, this is your brain. It's one side of your brain, and here's the other side of your brain, and here's here's like a bridge that's in between these two sides, and you have neurological impulses that jump back and forth, and they jump back and forth roughly at that 8 hertz level. Now the Schumann resonance, this is the planet here. And then this is the atmosphere around the planet, and the very high atmosphere is called the stratosphere. And the Schumann resonance is what happens when lightning strikes the planet and literally rings the planet like a bell. And it makes the air, atmosphere, and the ground where you plant your tomatoes They have an interaction that is also a vibration, and that vibration is the Schumann resonance, and it's roughly 7.58 or 8 hertz. Hertz this is all about how many waves go by at what time. So our brain, hey, what an amazing idea. Our brain is part of the planet that we live on, and it's part of the planetary consciousness structure. And our brain thinks much more happily and comfortably in increments of 8 because of that Schumann resonance. So 440 divided by 8. We're talking about fractions. That's how I should describe all of this. Harmonics means no fractions. So if I do like, I'm trying to think of you know, some whatever, 6 divided by 3 equals 2. Those are all whole numbers. That's easy. What if I do, you know, 6 divided by whatever, you know, well, 6 divided by 5. It does not give me a whole number, it gives me fractions. And this is what this all comes down to. When we hear fractions with our ears, it sounds ugly, it sounds out of tune, and it also creates cognitive dissonance in our brains. So 8 is, you know, roughly the Schumann resonance, and we love to hear things that are multiples and divisors of 8, like 8 times 8, 8 times 3, 8 times 4. Anything times 8 sounds good to us. 440 does not sound good to us. It does not divide easily by 8. There's extra stuff. So the way that I say this, sometimes it's like if you have stuff hanging off the bed, like here's your bed where you sleep, and you're supposed to sleep like this, and you're supposed to have your arms and your legs all on the bed, and you know, you sleep there very happily. What happens if you're like one of your arm kind of like sticks off the edge? That's a very uncomfortable way to sleep. You can hear this part that is sticking over the edge that is not supposed to be there. So music at one point in the ancient world was tuned to these frequencies that are much more in tune with the natural world. And in the classical music world, the time of the composer Verdi, he did compose some of his operas in 432 hertz. And we'll just write that real fast, 432, which is a multiple of 8. And he found that it was easier for his sopranos to reach some of those high notes when he tuned his music to 432. And that makes sense because your larynx makes a circle in order to be able to, we're talking about making perfect circles. So it's easier for us to make these perfect circles that are perfect harmonic frequencies with our physical bodies when we calibrate our bodies to the right frequency. And it was after World War II that the symphonic world, like, you know, the world of orchestras, got together and they said, we're going to standardize this, and we are going to standardize tuning to the A note. This is A, to be 440. So here's an A. And I always say that love's a tone, but this is a tone at 440. So we're hearing some cognitive dissonance. That sounds like a foot hanging over the edge of the bed. It doesn't sound perfect. So, because what we're supposed to have are these nested circles, like a circle that goes like this, and then a smaller circle inside of it, and a smaller circle inside of it, and a smaller circle inside of it, with nothing extra hanging over the side. So if you hear something extra hanging over the side, it sounds ugly. Let's play something that sounds ugly. That sounds ugly. It's because all of those sound waves don't fit together perfectly. There's stuff hanging over the edge. Now let's play something that sounds pretty. All of those sound waves nest together perfectly. We call that music. Perfectly nested harmonic sound waves is music. Non-perfectly nested sound waves that are not harmonic is noise. That is noise. That is noise. This is music. That is music. That was poorly played music, but that was music. So yeah, so how it's the whole idea of like we're working with organization here in order to create actual music. Okay, wait, okay. Let's go to talking about the solar system. But let's talk about, Jen is asking me a wonderful question. She says, can you play your painting on the keyboard? Thank you, I love you. I'm actually working on a project right now. Pop Fizz is probably smiling about this. I'm working on a project right now that's the realization of that very idea for a very long time. So I started out as a visual artist, I had a musical awakening, I started to understand the structure of the piano keyboard, and also I taught myself how to play along with songs and how to learn pop songs and things like that. All of this with the desire of wanting to make an auditory representation of this visual shape. So I'm working on that right now. And what I'm doing is I'm taking samples from this instrument over here and putting it into a complex computer program and using a DJ type of equipment to be able to make these layered harmonic soundscapes. So the answer is yes, I will soon be able to play my paintings on the keyboard, but I'm not there yet. I'm having to work with lots of technology to be able to do this. I'm talking about nested waves, nested sound waves. I wanted to go into cymatics. Let's draw it. Let's write it. Right at what I'm talking about here. So I got to clear this all. I don't have to clear it out. I can just write it right here. Cymatics. This is the idea that sound can be an organizing principle. So a visual representation of cymatics is you take a plate, like a metal plate or something like that, and sprinkle some kind of fine powder on top of it, like talc or sand, and then you vibrate the plate. You can either do it by taking a violin bow and running it against the plate, or striking it with a mallet, or even playing music in its presence, like attaching it to a speaker. And the plate vibrates and vibrates all of the little tiny pieces of matter into patterns. And guess what? The patterns that it vibrates into looks very, very much like the patterns that I paint visually. So harmonics are an organizing principle of the material world. And I'm not sure it was last week or 2 weeks ago, I did a class that was all about the life cycle of stars and how that relates to the stellar network. And one of the big explanations is the birth or conception of a star, that the way that a star in the sky is conceived, you have this nebula, a big giant kind of unformed floating cloud full of dust and gas and stuff like that, and that there are galactic superwaves. Big, giant, long wavelength waves that, like, if this is such a giant wave that's going across the whole entire screen, like, here's your galaxy inside of this big, giant wave. So it is the music that is being played on an enormous galactic scale. This is the galactic superwave, and it is an organizing principle that flows through the medium of space. So here we have music. That sound reached my ear and your ears too because it flowed through the medium of the atmosphere. But in space, we don't have air. We don't have an atmosphere. We have the medium of space. So the galactic superwave flows through the medium of space. And as it does so, it organizes all of the little tiny particles, just like cymatics, and it starts to organize that nebula, and it eventually coalesces and becomes a star. And that organizing principle is also at work in our bodies in terms of conception. When the sperm meets the egg and it has this moment of, I call it explosion, but it's not a violent explosion. It's like a expansion, a sudden expansion of energy. And we have a geometric or perfectly shaped polygons in our cellular structure as a result of that, because of the organizing principle. It's cymatics. It is the organizing with the waveforms create an organizing principle. So the more perfect your waveforms, the more perfect the organizational principle. So wait, now I have to show you these pictures. Okay, so I already did, I'm trying to stay organized here. I already did this one, this one, this one, and this one. Now I want to show you this. This is our solar system, and it's actually not completely accurate, but I wanted to show you. Can you just give me the annotation thing? I don't know why it doesn't always work for me. There we go. We got it. So our solar system and the way that the planets are arranged in the solar system is analogous to the strings of a guitar. And the guitar has 6 strings, and our solar system has 9 planets. But there's actually a planet missing. So, okay, and I don't know if you can even see all of these guys. And this is not to scale, but this just gives you a little bit of an idea of this. So the sun is over here, and then we have the inner planets, inner planets, inner planets, inner planets, and then you can't even see this. Okay, here's Mars, where I'm making that line over here, and then here's Jupiter, where I'm making that line over here. And there's actually an asteroid belt. That is where I'm making the squiggly line over there. And that asteroid belt is where there used to be a planet. So this is not just me, wacky Aurora, making this up. Science actually affirms this, that there was an ancient time in the estimation of the lifespan of our solar system, a long, long time ago, there was an actual planet there, and that the planet was degraded or destroyed. It got turned into rubble, and now there's just the asteroid belt there. So that's like saying, if we were to look at this guitar, and there's supposed to be, a full complement of strings, and let's say, first of all, there's a missing string. It's not even where it is supposed to be, because again, there's an organizing principle. There's like a set of things that are supposed to be there in terms of the formation of our solar system, and it's not there. And you can basically, it's like the nested dolls. You say we have a circle of this size, then we have one of this size, then we're supposed to have one of this size, but it's missing. And we skip, we have a gap, and then we go right from Mars to Jupiter, where we go up to this size. So there's a whole planet that's missing in our solar system. And then there are several other planets that are dead. And I define dead planet as not having a magnetosphere. This is the shape of Earth's magnetosphere. It is a torus or a toroid or a donut. And Earth is alive. We have a magnetosphere. The magnetosphere is a protective magnetic envelope that helps to protect our planet from excessive space debris and also cosmic particles and radiation and stuff like that, so that we can actually have life, organic, biological, cellular life on our planet. Hey girl, you want to jump on up? You want to come over here? Okay, she might want to come over here. Yes, if you don't have a magnetosphere, if you don't have that protective envelope, space to every time, like, it's like trying to grow a delicate art project, trying to grow these little cellular structures, and then here's an asteroid crashes onto your planet and gas goes up. There's a nuclear winter. The sun gets blocked out. Oh, it's so challenging to try to create life when you're constantly being inundated by asteroids. So that's why you have to have the magnetic envelope to block that out. Same thing with cosmic radiation and the impact that has on DNA structure and stuff like that. Too much radiation will fry your basic organisms, and they can't even grow into they can't fulfill their potential for life. So let's name planets that don't have a magnetosphere, a healthy functional magnetosphere. Mars and Venus don't have healthy functional magnetospheres. They are just sitting up there like dead rocks. So if you lose your magnetosphere, you as an individual, you don't have chakras, you don't have an energy field, you are dead. You are no longer moving through time. Oh, I didn't get into that in terms of DNA and its structure and its connection to time. Okay, I'll have to do that later. Someone will remind me. Okay, well, wait, let me get to, now, this is a good question from before that I said, hey, wait, that's level 2 stuff. Let me do that in level 2. Okay, this is great. So let me reread this. Joelle says, Aurora, how does the genetic degradation relate to the destruction of Tiamat, or what the asteroid belt used to be? Was this degradation more recent than what we were before this Earth? So this is a wonderful opportunity for me to say this. So that planet that was between Mars and Jupiter in this ancient time was inhabited by the invaders to our solar system. They did not originate from here. They're clank technology using extraterrestrials, non-terrestrial beings that came to our solar system. And they're like, oh, cool, we're going to set up shop on this planet over here. And there's basically a power struggle between them and the technology that they use, in order to compensate for their general crapitude and lack of divinity. And in much the same way that the bridge known as Galloping Gertie in the Pacific Northwest in the early 1900s was vibrated apart. The engineers at that time on Earth knew a lot about mechanical engineering, but they didn't know about harmonics. And what happened was they built a bridge across a narrow gorge, and the gorge had very strong winds that would blow through it. So they essentially made this suspension bridge that had a whole bunch of strings on the suspension bridge. And then they didn't know that harmonics would basically make the strings start to vibrate and would amplify. So let's draw amplification. This has to do with wavelength and frequency. Amplification means thing plus thing equals bigger thing. Clear this all out for you. Amplification means this plus this, a wave of equal size, equals very, very loud wave. So notice in this drawing, this is wavelength where I'm making this red line. This is also wavelength. Two of the same wavelength. This is the same wavelength. Those red lines did not get bigger. You know what got bigger? Amplitude. This is loudness. So this is blue line plus blue line. This is blue line plus blue line. This is amplitude. So if you add together two waves that have the same wavelength, it doesn't get longer, it gets louder. And that is exactly what happened with all of these. Oh, just go back to my face. Go back. All of these strings of the Galloping Gertie bridge got wind blowing past it, and it made the sound louder and louder and louder. The frequency, the harmonic vibrations louder and louder and louder. So what that evidenced as kinetic energy, not sound energy, but the kinetic energy, the movement of the actual bridge, it vibrated. And that bridge vibrated so violently that it vibrated itself apart, and it broke apart, couldn't be in existence anymore. That is what happened to that planet. It was a planet that got vibrated so violently that it couldn't hold together anymore as an actual massive structure, and it busted apart. It became the asteroid belt. That's a death. So as I spoke about in the teaching all about stars and consciousness, that the star is like the great painter that makes different planets, as are the painter's art projects. And that what if this is like death of, or they're like family members. Like the star could be considered a parent, and each of the planets is its children. And we are a child of the sun. That's our star. And one of our siblings, one of our planetary siblings up there, got vibrated out of existence. And we now can see the asteroid belt is the corpse floating up there. This is like the evidence of trauma that came to our solar system. And that happened a long time before the invasion of this planet on Earth. And the invasion of Mars and Venus also happened a long time before this invasion of Earth. So what we're seeing in our solar system is actually, so there was a cymatic principle, a larger organizing principle that came along and made these planets in these particular structures perfectly tuned, like the perfectly tuned strings of a guitar. And then some mean old poopy head came in and said, I'm going to take this complete string away, taking away your G string. You can't even play certain songs anymore. And I'm going to twist the knobs of the guitar. So now the whole thing is out of tune. That's our solar system. The instrument of our solar system became out of tune. So your question was about, does our genetic degradation relate to that? So what happened, and this is also lesson 18 stuff in the advanced level, the beings that invaded our solar system and screwed up the tuning of our instrument are basically miners, the same way like miner 49er went out to California looking for some gold. Then the gold is not a physical gold. It is a non-physical gold of consciousness or life force energy. So they came to mine our solar system, to take the goodness, to take the stuff that is valuable and shiny and wonderful and eternal from our solar system and refine it and then take it with them. It's not their stuff to take, but that's what they do. They go around like taking stuff. Let me read what you're saying. Chloe says, ancient Mesopotamian texts talk about Marduk coming too close to Tiamat and destroying her. Do you know what the Sumerians were referencing when they said Marduk? So it's very difficult for me to see the truth through a lot of the distortions in the ancient mythology. So there are Sumerian texts that are about this. There are many ancient Babylonian myths and earth descriptions. It's kind of amazing to see it. There was a traumatic event that happened in our solar system that is acknowledged and recorded by many different cultural, evidences, but they're distorted. So it's very challenging for me to say like, what's, if I were just to like read the Sumerian text and try to tell, like it's too hard to tell what's the real note, what's the real music. They're doing a lot of interpretations of the original song. But what I can say is that yes, this invasion of our solar system set everything out of balance in exactly the same way that I was telling you. The spinning of our DNA and the spinning of our chakras creates a gyrostabilizing effect, just like spinning bicycle wheels help to keep you held upright. The degradation of the chakras and the DNA makes everything go hinky-jinky. So our planet is now at this roughly 26-degree axis. It didn't always exist at that axis. It's at that axis now because we got destabilized and kind of slumped over. So all the actions of our entire planet and of our entire solar system and the circulations of our solar system, everything is out of balance. Everything has been disharmonized. And so what we're trying to do is get our music back into harmony. Let me just check on my little dog. She is sitting on her chair somewhere. She's happy. She's fine. Pedro says, painting for the eyes, music for ears. What's next? Cooking for taste or candle. Yes, yes. So what the present endeavor is blending together the synesthesia of eyes and ears. I'll have to add in smell-o-vision later, smell and taste and other nutrients. I'll have to add that in later, but I love those ideas. So let me now get into visualizing harmonics and show it to you on an oscilloscope. So this is most oscilloscopes. This is a little app, and it only runs on this old tablet. It is called Vocal Shapes, and they don't have a support structure for it. So it's an old app that only runs on old iOS, which is what my old tablet is. So I keep this tablet so that I can show this to you. Most oscilloscopes they visualize sound waves as if it is traveling across your screen laterally, just like, you know, the staff of a musical staff. This is, it shows you musical notes as if they are traveling down a tunnel that's spiraling away from you. So when I show this to you, one note looks like a perfect circle. Harmonic overtones look like a circle with the circle inside of it attached by a curlicue. And I'll do harmonic overtone singing so that you can get an idea of these complex structures, and I'll show you what a Tibetan singing bowl looks like in an image. I don't have the bowl, it was my friend's bowl. So this is, first I'll just show you, and sorry, this is, you know, well, it's not that bad of an image. You can see it pretty well. That's my regular speaking voice. La la la, here's my regular speaking voice. Now I'm going to play one note from the piano. Now I'm going to play one note from my musical instrument over here that's like the xylophone. You can see this. It's like one circle. Let me do that one a little bit better. Let me hold this like this. You can't see it like that. I have to do both, to hold both of these things at the same time. Here. So what I just showed you was a C and a C, a low C and a high C. So here's C and C on my piano. I'll play them both at the same time. So the reason why these are harmonic is because they nest within each other perfectly. I have one C that might have a wavelength of, let's say, arbitrarily 10 units, and the higher version of that would be 5 units. It's half the size of the wavelength and twice as fast in frequency. So these circles nest together perfectly, and the little curlicue is the way that they combine together. Let me play this instrument down here again. Wait, get going, good. This low C, high C, right down here, you can hear it. Wait, let me try again. Start again. Okay, so you know what you're looking at? And now I'll do my voice singing harmonic overtones. Yes, I will make funny faces while I do this. And you'll see the various curlicues as my voice makes nested, perfect notes. So when I use my voice like that, you hear the primary note, the fundamental, which might sound like a drone, like one note. But then you also hear subtleties or subnotes that might sound like do 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 do. And I'm not making the do 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 with my larynx. It's the sound waves are bouncing off of each other in complex subtleties. This is what is happening. I'll do it again. So you get an idea of what I'm talking about. Let me show you a picture now of what a Tibetan bowl looks like. This is my friend's thing. She lent it to me. I don't own the bowl, so I took a screenshot of what this looks like. Hold on a second. My boss is here. Hold on. Let me move this thing aside. My boss can come on up. Come on, boss. Come on up. Thank you for the boss break. We're having a little moment here. She's so. So what you're looking at there is an image from that same vocal shapes oscilloscope from my friend's Tibetan bowl. And I hope you can see the perfect patterns that are made there. You could call it interference patterns. It's not just interference patterns. They're just like what I paint on here. And the bowl was very interesting. I don't have a picture of it, but it did not look very fancy. It was not like a perfectly circular, shiny type of, gold looking bowl. It was kind of brown. It was kind of weird looking. It didn't have a perfect surface. It was made by a family of practitioners in the Far East, and they've been doing this for generations. And the metal itself is made of a blend of 7 different metals. And the whole point is it didn't look very fancy, but it was perfectly calibrated. That they have a manufacturing process or a way of doing this that brings all of the subtleties. So when you have harmonic overtones in an instrument like that, it relates to our brain. It relates to our connection to the planet. It relates to our cellular structure. This is good. Go back to my face so you can see me better. So, each one of our cell membranes is like a drum head that vibrates. Your diaphragm vibrates, like your skin vibrates. Your blood cells vibrate. When we are subjected to certain vibrations, it has a profound impact on our cellular structure and our consciousness structure. Being subjected to vibrations at 440 hertz, or these disharmonic tunings that we often hear in our modern world, affects our mentality, our cognition, and also our cellular structure. And being subjected to music that is tuned to there's many different tunings, so I want to make that clear. 432 at A is one tuning, there's 528, there's another one in the 700s, there's all these different ones. What matters is that there are multiples and divisors of 8, and then it feels happy and comfortable to our brain. So there's not one right answer. It's just like saying if you're going to paint a rainbow, you can start off with red that's kind of a fire engine red, or you can start off with a red that looks like a magenta, or you can start off with a red that looks like a very bright bubblegum pink. It's still red. And then everything else gets calibrated according to that, either vividness or pastel, quality. But it all still counts. So you can have a rainbow that's bright and vivid, or you can have a rainbow that's pastel. It's still a rainbow. You can have an octave that is calibrated to 432 or to 528 or 700 or 900, whatever it is. It's just the starting point for the red color might be different, but what matters is that the rest of the colors relate accurately to that red color. Oh, dude, so wait. So let me go to the comments over here. Oh, yeah, good. Okay, wait. What a wonderful question. Ron says, can we send love and lasagna to Mars and Venus and help to bring them back? I love that question. My answer is that there is a rectification for our solar system, and I'm not certain what that is going to look like. Like, I definitely know in our bodies, we need to retune the strings of the guitar, and in our solar system, we also need to do that. I am not certain what that will look like. So I don't know, like, will the rubble of the planet come back together? Will there be a new planet there? Will Mars and Venus suddenly get magnetospheres again? I don't know. That's a really wonderful question. So my answer will be a provisional, I know that there's a solution. It's like when we rearrange the Rubik's Cube of our DNA, I know that we can all achieve health, vitality, and all of these the improvements in our life. I don't know what that will look like for your personal lives. And I don't know what this will look like for the solar system, but I do know that there is a possibility for rectification. So I'm sorry that I never lie to you guys though. I won't make something up, but I don't have an answer more than that. Pedro says, we can send it, Ron, but with the FRL, we can send it to when it's needed, not just where. I think that's a very good point. The idea of sending the healing and rectification back in time to when those planets were invaded and destroyed too. Joelle says, oh my God, that's amazing. I wonder if there's a newer app I can get that is the same or similar. So I will include the link to Vocal Shapes. I don't know if you can run it on your current iOS or your foundation, your platform for apps. And I don't know what else there is out there. Like, there's so many different apps for sonic visualization. So there's got to be something good. But I always include that app because I like to give credit where it is due. And it was a free app too, but it was from I think 4 years ago at this point. Jen says, literally gave you goosebumps when I did some of that playing and singing. That's the idea. In this project that I'm working on, and even my artwork that I do, my visual work, it goes beyond the flapping of the moving mouth parts. Language, even though I'm using this here, like we're elevating language by using it to talk about these concepts, language is inherently flawed, and it is very challenging to get across these exalting ideas and go into an exalted mind state when we're talking, thinking. And there's a reason why, like the classical music or the devotional music of Western Europe, it was mostly played in cathedrals. It was mostly affiliated with the Christian church. There's a reason for all of that. The correct frequencies, being in an environment and bathed in those sounds, has an exalting effect on our consciousness. It can bring us to euphoric inner states. It can make you feel happy and uplifted and good. It can make you feel more divine. And so, of course, it was only available to people who were part of the Christian church, and it was co-opted by the church to say, like, we own this. We own, like, the solfeggio frequencies that were held as secrets by the monks, the chanters in the monasteries. They had these healing frequencies that also brought you to exalted states of consciousness, but it was like a form of sonic technology that they did not want the common man, the common guy pushing a wheelbarrow full of poop. They didn't want him to know about solfeggio frequencies. So, and all of this goes back to ancient Egypt, where sound and frequency, like tuning forks, in a very sophisticated way, were used not only to exalt consciousness, but to change and heal our physical structures of our bodies. So sound can have a profound effect on our structure of our body. And think about this now, how much of the sounds that we are subjected to in our daily lives are the antithesis of health. Like, since I got my dog, I'm way more sensitive to what are loud sounds in the atmosphere, in the environment, because she's very sensitive to them. There's garbage trucks, loud motorcycles, loud skateboards, all of these things, industrial, machinery, all of that. It has an impact on our mind. It has an impact on our emotional state and also on our physical health and vitality. And one way that we can return to a state of perfection and physical vitality is by creating a healthy sonic environment. So yeah, I play my instrument and I listen to music, and I nothing against heavy metal, but I don't like heavy metal, and my dog doesn't like it either. She's like my little barometer. If she runs out of the room when I put something on, I'm like, okay, like that's not good, healthy frequencies for us. But yeah, the idea of sound baths. And so, okay, difference between a sound bath or just listening to headphones. I listen to headphones a lot, and especially when I had a shared house and I had housemates or whatever, because, I couldn't be listening to what I wanted to at top volume at, the middle of the night. But if you have your own place, or a time when you are, you know, like not going to disturb other people, put on your music on actual speakers, because your skin hears the music, your diaphragm hears the music, you feel it through the soles of your feet. It's very different than just having headphones that are just tickling the little hairs inside of your ears. So sound has a profound impact on our whole entire body. Ancient cultures, there's also a sound bath space in a place in Malta, like an underground cavern. Many caverns were used for sound baths. Ancient people knew that sound has a healing frequency to it, a healing capacity to it rather. And modern people don't even understand, I think, how profoundly we're being negatively affected by the disharmonic sounds in our environment. Joelle says, how do I make that sound? Oh, okay, good. So the harmonic overtones. I've practiced for many years. So and it's just like building a physical muscle. The more you do it, your larynx is a muscle, and the more that you do it, the stronger you become. And it's not just about the throat. It is also about the resonant sinus cavities and your whole entire skull. So I actually, learned by modeling myself upon the template of others. When I first got here as Aurora, I simply started doing these chantings and overtones in a very formless way, kind of like glossolalia, like blah, blah, boo, boo, boo. I didn't know what I was doing. And then eventually I got together with a group of other people that did informally chanting and overtones, like not a religious group, but for human uplift. And I was exposed to people who had been doing this for years. And it's like if you're like a little tiny kid with little muscles and you see like someone who's got big, giant, whatever, bodybuilder muscles, and you're like, wow, that guy's really big. So I heard what you can be. And then I cultivated myself through many years of practice. And I do this overtone singing when I do the sun gazing too. So it's even better when I'm in the sun and the sun is coming into me. And it reminds me of like when you have a beam of light going through a crystal and then it comes out as this beautiful refracted rainbow. The light comes into me, into my mind, and then it comes out through this harmonic overtone singing. So the way that you do it is by singing a fundamental note. My lips stay in the same shape. My larynx stays in the same shape. But what changes is the position of my tongue inside of my mouth and my soft palate. So I'll do it again as an example for you. So the do-do-do-do-do-do comes from me wiggling my tongue and my soft palate in a very subtle way at the back of my throat. So you didn't see my mouth move, you didn't see my throat change, and it stayed that same fundamental note, but it's subtle internal changes. And the truth is, if you listen to really great singers like Freddie Mercury and Janis Joplin and some of the other like famous rock and roll vocalists, a lot of them are using overtones in a secular, informal way in order to have more richness and complexity, and also to reach higher levels in their vocal range than they would have been able to otherwise. So sometimes, just like in the same way that the visuals, violet is the end result of the visual harmonic overtone overlapping of blue and red in the spectrum. Some of the notes that you hear when you hear Freddie Mercury singing, some of those high notes, are the end result of the complexities of overlapping other notes and amplifying them. So some people are exploring these capacities in a very informal way that others, like Tibetan monks of the Far East and some of these chanting monks from Western Europe, explored the cultivation of the voice in a more formal setting. Joelle says, we have a shop near where I live where you can get one of those handmade 7 metal bowls. That's what I want to get next. Last time I played one in the shop, I felt high for like an hour, and I don't have that experience with the little machine for the singing bowls. Yeah. So totally. When I first got my instrument that I was just showing you, I got it, and it was like right around Christmas time or whatever. And I remember not this year, like several years ago, I was like so excited. It was like right before bed. I played and played and played. And then I was so energized by doing all of that. Like literally I had fed myself a giant frequency meal. I lay down in my bed, I was so awake. I could not fall asleep. I lay there for hours. I was totally insomniac. So yes, it's incredibly powerful when you're exposed. So there are sound baths where you can go and you can have this experience of being like gongs and Tibetan bowls and other things like that. It's incredibly powerful. It is like a food for your cells. And of course, it's always best you have the actual analog instrument, because when you record sound waves, there are compression programs. Like the machine doesn't record every single aspect of the sound. It kind of throws out some of the information. You get a dumbed down version, and definitely you don't get all the subtleties of the frequencies. So it's like you get less nutrients in the food. So if you have, let's say, a DVD of Tibetan bowls and you're going to listen on your headphones, hey, that's still good. That's probably better than listening to Metallica on your headphones in terms of cellular structure and consciousness, and it's not the same as if you had speakers playing it in your room, or if you had the actual Tibetan bowls to play, and or chimes in your actual world. And yeah, it makes a huge, I do all sorts of things in my studio here to create a beneficial energy field. So I will diffuse aromatic essential oils, put it in the air, make good smells. I will put on wonderful music or play my music. So that is another way of putting good vibrations into the atmosphere. And then, of course, the visual vibrations of my artwork. So I encourage all of us to do all of these things. It's part of feeding us. And I really remember the time of ancient Atlantis as a time when we were all wonderfully fed with frequency, everything from the vibrations that were emitted from the crystals that are part of the structure of our world, to the sounds. Like it's normal for us to be like, oh, I hear a garbage truck outside, I hear a motorcycle outside. Very rare for us to hear like, oh, I hear beautiful harmonic music. Sometimes, like you might hear like the ice cream truck going by, but it's not usually like beautiful harmonic music, or it's whatever, Farmer in the Dell or something like that. Imagine how amazing it would be if all that you heard around you were beautiful chimes. And the world would be much more peaceful. Your emotional experience would be much more peaceful. So recorded sounds are good. If you can't have the real thing, but so much better to have the real thing. And yeah, it can be an investment to get some of these bowls. Like they can be hundreds of dollars sometimes, the good ones. So Ron says, what about their energy or morphic field? I work with planetary energy in my own magical practice, and they have personalities. Absolutely. So I would say that the morphic field, or the supernatural residue of the planets that were once alive, is still in existence. But it's just like saying, if we have residue of a person who once was here, once had a physical body, and their body got destroyed, what should happen to that person? Should we say, let's get you a new body, let's get you into a new body? Like, what is the resolution for that life? So what is the appropriate good resolution for the life of the 3 planets in our solar system that were harmed or destroyed? So I won't dictate that to you. I'll just say that's what we need to figure out. How do we bring those beings died, and they died horribly. It was murder. So how do we resolve their murder? And I think part of it is we have to get justice, not necessarily vengeance, but justice and rectification for what happened. Jackie says, I always get goosebumps when I hear a perfect note. Does that mean there's some sort of cellular activation going on? Yes. Your piloerective response, that is goosebumps when your hairs stand erect. It's also why you get goosebumps when it's confirmation of a thought or an idea, or like a truth that someone's telling you. Like I get goosebumps when someone tells me a medicine story, a story of truth that, enlightened them. Joel says, thank you for the demo and exploration. Absolutely. Oh, we've got someone with their mic on, so I'm just going to mute them on up. Thank you very much. Let me check my notes over here. Sorry, I got my little dog on my lap. Hold on. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. We are embodied music. As I was just saying to you in level 1, we are made out of all of these vibrating strings of DNA. And someone came along thousands of years ago and twisted the knobs on our guitars of our bodies and made us make rather crappy music. However, we have the potential to be wonderful virtuoso musicians and to make this wonderful type of music. And time is also music. So the difference between visual art, what I paint here, and auditory sonic art is you can look at my painting in 1 second. It takes you 1 second to see a painting. But how long does it take for you to listen to a symphony or a song? Well, if the song is 2 minutes long, it takes you 2 minutes to listen to that song. Music is a time-based art form. And our DNA And our connection to time is all related to music. It's all related to these waveforms. So this was actually from level 1 stuff. I hope that everyone is still tuned in, and I'll just draw it for you. Connection of DNA to time. That DNA isn't just the structure of what your eyes or your nose is shaped like. DNA is also the structure of moment that connects us from moment to moment. So if each one of these squares is like a time, a box of time, a room of time, or like a train car of reality. These are very, very roughly drawn boxes of moments. And we've been here in this webinar for a couple of hours at this point. Thank you for being with me on the marathon. This is where we started out the webinar over here, that red dot, and this is where we are right now in terms of time. And we do not live in the same body. I'm not in the same body that I was, 2 or 3 hours ago. My consciousness actually jumped from moment to moment to moment, from body to body to body. So this red dot actually jumped to this moment, then jumped to this moment, then jumped to this moment, all the way through many, many, many hours. And we don't even do a conscious jumping. We don't have to sit here and be like, okay, everybody get ready, jump into the next moment. Like, we don't have to do that. We do that as a taken for granted aspect of movement of consciousness. And so we are musicians playing the instrument of our body, the notes of the musical score of the song of our life. And it is a time-based expression. And I've also shown you how this shape, so the bottom section of this shape is the time vortex. If I turn it up on its side, look, it looks like a circle. It looks, like a bullseye. It's exactly like an old-fashioned analog record, a platter, a record with a song on it. And we start at the periphery. Here's the first song on the record. And it spirals in. With each song, we get closer and closer to the spindle. And my finger, the needle on the record, this is your awareness, your, tendril of awareness. So you have all these songs of potential that exist on the record of your life, of your DNA. And then it is your awareness, the needle of your awareness, that is being placed on a particular track, like a particular timeline, experiencing that timeline, that actually brings that song into reality. So we have potentials, musical potentials, like the score is there, but the music isn't being played until you, as the musician, actually play it on your instrument, or actually apply your attention, and in that way you express that truth. So your DNA is made of vibrating strings that are connecting you to the experience of moving through time. Your DNA is connected to your time structure, which is this toroidal shape. And then I also spoke in level 1 about how you can transform that toroidal shape into a hypertorus flying rainbow lasagna, and in so doing, rewrite the score. You're like, if this music is supposed to go like this, first I'm supposed to sing this, then this, then this, and then I die. I'm like, I don't like that song. I want to play a different song. I want to play a song that goes like this. I don't want to die. I want to go in a different direction. So that's what this is all about. I hope that I have got, something, I'll just say this. I only got through a portion of what is in level 2 in the recorded, materials or whatever. It's worth delving, that there's a lot more there in terms of harmonics. And I know I went very long on level 1 because it's all really important stuff, actually, because this has to do with how do we retune the guitar. Like I'm telling you, hey, we have this solar system that is an out of tune guitar. We have our bodies that are also out of tune guitars. How do we retune the guitar in order to make better music? And the answer is we retune by flying rainbow lasagna, doing the genetic rearrangement, or rearranging your Rubik's Cube into better formats that are more comfortable and that don't involve disease and death, and that allow us to transcend these present levels of, limitation. And, I'll also, well, whatever, I showed you in level 1, the musical DNA stuff. I really enjoy that program, and I encourage people to check it out. So I don't know if there's support for musical DNA in the current level of iOS either. But what I like about that is, so the musical staff usually shows a linear sense, 5 lines going across like this, and then little black dots going up and down that tell us what the music is shaped like. And that's very similar to saying we usually have an oscilloscope that shows waveforms going like this, but how different it is when we show with an oscilloscope the waveform going away from us like a tunnel down like this. And then for anyone who just didn't see the level 1 stuff, I'll just show you, we'll go back to here. Where's my, this? Yeah, so this is 1 level of DNA, and this is, here you go. So here's Musical DNA is the name of the app. Please check it out. Wonderful. What I speak so highly of this program because it is helping us to understand music in a nonlinear sense. No longer thinking of it simply as a line that starts at the beginning, goes to the end, like when you read a book, but now being able to see it as a spiral, like a circle, like a hole, and that 3 notes that you might make together that make a chord make a triangle, but then when you see that triangle and the way that it relates to the other notes that have come before it, you see that it is a much more complex shape than just a triangle. The triangle is the front part of the polygon that has all of these other parts that are coming behind it. And the understanding that each of these loops is a generation. Mom, here's your mom and dad, here's your grandparents, here's your great-grandparents, blah, 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 all the way back into ancient ancestors. So it's a very worthy exploration, musical DNA. And there's another app that is part of it that's called Center Punch that has classical music programmed into it, and you can practice pressing the right buttons in order to make the right shapes and make the right polygons to be able to learn about this. So it's a totally new way of understanding musical notation, connecting polygons, multi-sided shapes, to sounds, connecting polygons, a multi-sided shape like flying lasagna, to sounds. How very fun and exciting. So Ron says, the fact that you came to offer the leveling up is such a beautiful act of compassion. Thank you. You are very welcome. Thank you for that acknowledgement. Yes, because sometimes it's a rough gig, to be here and to be a walk-in. And it feels so wonderful to be recognized in that way. I'm happy to do the work, and thank you. It's like getting Gatorade on the marathon. It definitely helps me to continue to keep going. Thank you very much for that. So I don't know if there are more questions about harmonics that I can speak to. I know this has been a long marathon event. We might need to have a little bit of a break, but I don't want to end prematurely if there are any other questions. But thank you so much. This class is full of very intelligent people who are very insightful and who ask wonderful questions. And I'll also say thank you to the comment section in YouTube. You also I have wonderful, insightful people who have, good rapport. I send out good music to them. They send out good music back to me. Thank you. It's what, makes this very, very appreciative. Pedro says, group hug from the teacher. I hug you guys through the screen. Like, I'm very proud when you ask wonderful questions that are, really insightful. I'm like, I'm so impressed. You're wonderful. Like, yeah. And I've also, some students have been in the class for a long time and they've, been on the journey. And it's like, oh, like I see them getting it. I see them totally getting it. So it's very exciting. It's very encouraging. So you know what I will do? I will end lesson 2 for right now. I'll say thank you so much to everyone. Big hugs of appreciation all around. Thank you so much. So I'll just, my recording will be too long. Thank you. Thank you very much.